Hello, 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 hello. It is I, Niiamah, and thank you so much for being on the Outliers and podcast with me. I appreciate you taking some time to listen, and thank you for letting me be a part of your journey here. So, what we're gonna do here, y'all heard me sing as we enter into this conversation, and it's because the featured outlier that we're spending time with today has me in I would say a jovial mood, right? And there's a number of different reasons for that, but I think a big part of it is because I'm really aligning with the mission that he's on and where things are going right now. In Today, we're going to spend some time with someone who has decided to make a world of difference in his world. And we'll be exploring not just his path there, but really the challenges along the way, and also the nuances, right? Because like we get it, we've been playing this game for a while. You've been building your business, you've been getting your thought leadership out in the world, you've been having followers in different places, and now we get to talk to someone who's been doing something similar, and then being able to explore that person's journey. So I realize that you all don't know who I get a chance to talk to today. So today we're going to talk to Naveen Samala. Naveen, I am really, really honored that you have decided to spend some time with me, the other outliers and world shapers here today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and thanks for having me here, Niiamah. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said yes to this. Like we always get a chance to build our relationships here, and it's always fun for me to see just like what happens when someone just says like, "Hey, here goes an invitation," and then the other part of it being like someone else saying, "Yeah, let's play," you know. So, Naveen, we'd love to get to know you here, and everyone that
Mhm.
comes across my microphone or across this conversation is someone who like stands for something in the world, right? And so, I want to give you a chance
Yeah,
for us to get to know you through your mission. Can you share with us here, like what is it that you stand for? What's the mission that you're building right now?
yeah. I'm on a mission to shape the careers and lives of millions across the globe. I come from a very humble background and from a tier two town based out of India. And it took a lot of time for me to reach where I am. So I'm here to help people reach their dreams in a much shorter time than what I took personally. So that's the reason I'm here to make a difference in the careers and lives of millions across the globe so that they are better at everything they do, personally, professionally.
That's fantastic. Like you use the word that like I love, which is like to help like shape the careers, right? You didn't say like
Yeah.
career like create careers or change careers, like you shape. And I've gone by, I've been thinking about this a lot with the language I use. And I use like world shapers versus world creators or world builders. So I'm curious to you, when you say shape careers, what does that mean for you? What is that what's the distinction about it for you?
To keep it very simple, right now, if you look at my podcast, it has featured many CXOs, many entrepreneurs, many coaches, many academicians. And by listening to those people, we will get to know different paths that are available and different kind of routes somebody has taken in order to reach their current position. So by understanding these nuances, one will be able to shape their career in the way they want to. Because always people think that career is always a linear vertical path, but that is not true, and which is already proven through several different interviews. And at the same time, people are also curious about transitioning careers. When I say transitioning, maybe moving from a job to a entrepreneurship or running their own business or running their own coaching session. So they are always in a dilemma. So, however, we have many real life stories from various different professionals, various different backgrounds from 40 different countries. So at least one of those conversations will resonate with the audience, and they will be able to make and take decisions effectively, and that's how they can shape their career.
All right, so let's talk about this here because you do have a podcast. Remind us the name of your podcast here, and actually, I think I wanted the reason I'm saying that is because I know that you have more than one podcast. So why don't you tell us about your podcast really quickly, very briefly, and then we'll pick up from there because it's the podcast is now a character in our conversation. Let's introduce them.
So as I said, my mission is just to shape the careers and lives of millions across the globe. So the guiding voice is all about driving conversations that matter and conversations that add value to somebody's life as well as career. So the reason it is called as the guiding voice is, like, normally you have a compass, right? Compass is something visual, like it will give you a direction through visual. Whereas our podcast is giving guidance through voice. So that, and that guidance is not just related to career, but also self-help, but also personality development related. So we are here to transform someone in all facets of their life and career.
So tell me, like, before you jumped into like transforming someone in all the different facets of them, like, what was life like for you? And what I want to get to, Naveen, is really that space where you decided to make the transition and say, like, hey, like one day I was living a life where maybe in the back of my mind, helping them shape their careers and transform their careers was in my mind, but like I hadn't really done it. And then there's another day where you like actually like started to do the work. You started to do, I don't know if the podcast was the first thing you did or not, but I want to understand less about the mechanism and more about like answering the call of stepping into your mission. Tell me about like when you decided to answer your call.
This actually started during my school days itself, like during my graduation. Of course, I did not launch my podcast that time, but in terms of mentoring people, helping them, and sharing whatever I have learned, so that I used to make paths of people easy. And in addition to that, I started my career as a assistant professor in an engineering college. So which itself was a kind of great experience, because I got an opportunity to guide people and shape their careers right from my very first day of my career. And after that, I got into IT field, and then I embraced Lean Six Sigma. Again, that has gone really well with my mission in terms of driving things efficiently and doing things effectively as well. And I did the highest certification within Lean Six Sigma. And that also gave me an opportunity to train people on Lean Six Sigma fundamentals, green belt, yellow belt, and also up to black belt level. So this guidance has been parcel of my life. But to talk about the podcast journey itself, I used to listen to a lot of podcasts when I was commuting to office after purchasing my very first car in 2012. And I very rarely used to listen to the FM radio or any other music. But ever since I got introduced to podcast through a common friend, I made best use of my conveyance time. Like it was kind of 45 minutes each each way, which is accumulating to 1.5 hours. So in that 1.5 hours, I used to listen to at least 2 or 3 episodes. And but I never imagined that I would start my own show until this pandemic broke. And during the early days of pandemic, there were so many courses everywhere in March 2020. And I happened to attend a course on podcasting by a renowned podcaster in India, Mr. Vijay Gautam. And I immediately signed up. And after that, there is no looking back. So I got an opportunity to unleash myself and find out my strengths as in when I started speaking to experienced professionals. And also I have hosted some young achievers as well. The youngest speaker was a 14-year-old, whereas the oldest speaker is 85-year-old. So I've covered wide spectrum of people, and which are helping me learn a lot of things. That is my uh, that has become my, so that is one of the selfish part. And first I experienced the guest, and later on I'm giving it to the world, right? So that's how the journey started. Hope I answered it.
Yeah, you did. I appreciate that. Like I like to see I like to like just get into the moment as like when someone decides to answer the call, right? And because like we're all on some kind of journey here, and it's an infinite game, right? It's like the biggest thing is are you a player in the game or not? You know,
Yeah.
and we're all going to have different degrees as to how far we're able to take things, but every single person's influence and contribution matters, you know. And so I'm glad that you found like a vehicle for your change to come to life, something that really spoke to you to get that out into the world. Let me ask you here, you've done over 300, we were talking 362, I said 360, there's like 362 podcasts so far. What's one of the most surprising benefits that you've gotten for yourself as you started at, like, because you went down this journey of really stepping into, let's use for now, allowing yourself to like go through the podcast? There's probably other places, and if you think that there's a better story that you want to share or a better surprise, like surprise and insight, share that. But let's look at it through the lens of the podcast. What's one of the...
But one thing is, I got access to people like at all levels, at CXO level, somebody who is a Fortune 500 company also. I built a strong brand for myself, and that is the biggest thing, I would say. And the surprising part is sometimes we underestimate ourselves, but once you start from scratch by believing in yourself with conviction, you'll go places. And I started going places, and there's a long way to go. But I see that positive things started moving in. That is the biggest surprise.
So we're on the World of Difference season here with Outliers Edge, and to me that all comes down to owning what makes you different to make a world of difference, not just a little bit, but like a whole world. So when you say like I'm here to shape the careers of people, millions of people worldwide across the globe, I think is actually say, like, I'm like, okay, like that's a world of difference. It's not just like I'm here to help 3 people, tell me here, let's I want to get a chance to understand what makes you different and how you leverage that. All right, so tell me here, like, you have a top podcast right now, right? You're in like the top echelon of podcasts right here, and you started this about 3 years ago at the time of this recording. All right, what's something that you do?
Right.
Yeah, so what's something about you that you feel like you bring different, that's helped you like be able to create the results that you're creating right now?
Yeah. So one thing is, especially with regard to podcasting, I have that innate ability to create some compelling questions, which will extract all the wisdom out of the guest. And I'm able to easily connect with people. And third aspect is all about thinking faster execution. Like I never look back. Like I don't think twice before making a decision. And nobody can match my execution speed. And if something comes in my mind, I will do it. And nobody can match my speed. That is the key differentiator.
Nice. Oh, well, I like this here because it's like, like, hey, at the very least, no one's gonna match my speed. And if I come up with it, like we're gonna execute on it quickly here.
Right.
Where's a time where you in your journey, like not just with the podcast, but like overall, right? With like in relation to your mission, overall, where's a time where you didn't like rely on your what makes you distinct, the things that you do differently than others? Where's a time where you didn't rely on it and you didn't see the results that you were looking for? So for an example, this might be like a time where you didn't use speed to your advantage or something like that. So I'd be curious about that.
See, right now, if you look at the volume of episodes, right? Just 3 years, 3 months, and I've done 362 episodes in English and 30 episodes in Hindi and about 63 episodes in Telugu. But the kind of numbers, right? I could have already reached top 1% by now, which is getting delayed. That is where I feel bad about it sometimes, but I also believe in one principle. If something huge is coming, it takes time, right? Because maybe I'm going to experience a massive results all at once. And that's why, and at the same time, I'm trying to improve myself and to understand, okay, how can I do better? And it is making me creative also.
Like this year, and it's something like, I've had some time. I love volume, right? Because my brain is one of my differentiators in the sense of like I love to think. I see things in nuance, and I can recognize patterns, and I'm like very strategic around things. But at the same time, I can also become like an overthinker, and I can try and analyze multiple places. I'm like, okay, if I write this, then maybe they're going to respond this way. And then so I can get really caught up in my head. you know. And one of the things that's been very freeing for me, people, I don't know if other people know this, I'll just say it, but like volume is actually one of like the things that helps me as a leader actually be able to show up as a leader, because it's
Yeah.
like it for me, it has removed the pressure of any one, let's say, let's use podcast for this example, but like I do a lot of different things, right? So for any one experience of what I do to be the big one, you know, for it to have to be perfectly right, you know. So when you talk about like being able to do volume and using that to your advantage and being able to do quickly and speed, it really speaks to me, you know.
Yeah.
um let's Do you have any, like, I'll be curious, do you have any thoughts on what I just said, anything that's kind of like continue to flow through you based on what I just said there, or anything else that you feel like you like to put into the conversation real quick?
No, I'm good. Like what you said is sometimes people think about quality versus quantity, but quality comes with quantity. I believe in one principle, like you have to be perfect, but don't wait for the perfect thing to be out. You'll end up waiting forever. That's why if you look at my podcasts, listen to episode 1 versus 50 versus 100 versus 150 versus 200, there will be at least 5 to 10% difference or improvement, right? So I wanted to demonstrate that concept of continuous improvement, right? And this will be a good lesson for somebody who failed to start at the first place because they wanted to correct their accent. They wanted to launch a picture perfect podcast, which will lead to say 100,000 downloads in the very first episode.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate that, because I think, you know, I look at this here and I know that a lot of the outliers that listen to this are not at the beginning status. A lot of them are, right? A lot, and some of them are just entering into the space, right? And I think
Yeah.
that, like, as you're saying that, it's resonating with me right now because for a number of different reasons. One, I just look back at like the different things that I've done along this journey, and I'm seeing like every single time there's every time we did something new, what you just talked about showed up again, you know. And like the amount of time it took to learn each different step of it, right? And so right now I just feel called that, like, if there's any outlier out there, any world shaper that's playing the game and is saying, I'm trying to try something new, and I'm
Hmm.
not necessarily sure if it will work. Whether like remember this year, like, please don't expect to drop your first thing and get 100,000 like downloads right away. Remember that we all start at the beginning each time, and we have to go through that path of learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That really, it's. And as much as I'm saying it for y'all, I'm also saying it for myself right here. We we're at a place right now in our business where we have taken on some of like the number one challenges, which has been around like, okay, how are we bringing new people into our world, right?
Hmm.
And what was really interesting was that we quickly went from how we bringing new people into like, oh wow, we're bringing in like now we're bringing in too many, you know. And it's funny because we're working this out with my team at the time of this recording, and it's very much in this space of like, hey, right now this is the stage of learning, right?
Yeah.
Let's like we're going, the point of this is not like, it might seem like the point is to get a new client or to get this. It's like, it's not. It's to learn, and to learn like what helps people the most.
Hmm.
What can we get rid of? What can we do, like, so that we can come back and look at it and say, hey, 50 days later, 100 days later, so on and so forth, look at the improvements that are along the way. So I appreciate you bringing that into this space here. Like, what's a thing right now that you're playing with that feels kind of new to you, or that feels like you're still trying to get a handle on right now?
See, right now, my Hindi podcast is a kind of infant, and it's just kind of 7.5 months old. And I'm not that fluent in Hindi, which is our national language. I studied it in school, but I don't use it on daily basis. Even if I use it sparingly. So that is what I'm getting better at right now, and that is keeping me busy because I wanted to push myself out of my comfort zone. Again, this is another good lesson for listeners out there. In case if you are uncomfortable doing something, just get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because you can take me as a live example. Like when I started my Hindi podcast on January 26th, 2023 versus today, like again, you'll see a lot of improvement in my vocabulary and the way I pronounce things, right? So I did not wait myself to be perfect, right? So be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I appreciate that there, because it's cool to see how like I have something that's working, and what I get what's cool is like you're still putting yourself in places where you're stretching, you're growing, you're putting yourself in discomfort, you're learning. You're allowing your growth trajectory to be like actually, I would say, visible, but like knowing that you chose a guiding voice because it was auditory, so to be heard, and it's it's and at the same time, like you're learning through a mechanism, a medium that you've already figured out a lot of other things on, right? So it's not like, oh, okay, I need to go and like write a book in Hindi. It's like, all right, I got the podcasting thing. This is like, I know how to use my voice on this here. Now let me try and expand this out in a different way. Let me reach a different group of people that I wouldn't have reached. And like I might have to learn a lot through it. I don't have to learn the technical podcasting parts anymore. That part you got. You don't have to learn how to bring people in. I know how to get guests. I know how to do all those things. I just have to like now be able to get the conversational Hindi up so that you can utilize, if I remember, one of your number one differentiators, which is your ability to ask amazing questions. Right. Yeah. So like, tell me a little bit about that. Like, did I capture that right here? I just want to like, there's something amazing in that, and something different in that I just want to like slow down enough to see that as it is.
No, you're right. You have captured the essence. In fact, you are absolutely right, and you nailed it. And one other thing is, since we haven't spoken about that, I have also released my first book, TGV Inspiring Lives Volume 1, which featured about 22 speakers out of 390 plus speakers whom I interviewed. And that book got released on December 12th, 2022 last year. And while we speak, our Volume 2 is in progress, and Volume 3 is already signed up.
Nice. Now I'm gonna get curious about this because I didn't know you had the book as well here. And what I like here is this component. If I'm getting you right, the book is the source content of the book comes from the interviews that you've had already, correct? The conversations you already had.
That's right.
So I want to talk a little bit here around like a topic I don't talk often about, but it's one of my favorite, which is repurposing. Right.
Yeah.
So up until probably about a year ago, I used to go around and let people know very upfront. I'm like, look, I'm one of the laziest people that you'll know, right? I'm highly ambitious, but also very lazy. And like, I would say it to disarm people, to have people like kind of like, Then eventually it became a little bit too true. Like I literally became a little bit too lazy in like the traditional sense. But really what it comes down to is like, I believe a lot in efficiency and effectiveness and even more than that, leverage. My return on investment of time, energy, and effort and attention, like I love to be very high. And as such, there's the concept of repurposing really like plays out for me, right? And so what I'm hearing from you is that like you started off with one thing and you found ways to keep repurposing it. So it's like, yes, I have a podcast. That's I'm one of the top podcasters out there. I have like a top 2% podcast at the time of this recording, and it just like, given that, I'm going to keep using that as my primary way through, but I'm going to find different ways to keep reaching out and meeting other people. Maybe I'm going to learn a new language, or I'm going to get better at a language that I know. Maybe I'm going to put it into a book so I don't have not just one volume, but 2 and 3, Tell me a little bit about like the ways that you choose to repurpose and like repurpose. So in my mind, is to take something that is great source material and then find ways to get it out to different people in different components. Let's see. Tell me, not just in general, like I think I was like, tell me about all the ways you do it. Actually, I think what I really care about is like, I want to see you. So tell me about like how you're making this come to life from the process of using the podcast. So you have 390 plus interviews. And then like, what was your process to be able to turn that into volume 1? And now as you're talking, I'm realizing like you didn't just say volume 2. You're like, we could do volume 2 and 3 at the same time, So tell me a little bit about that process. I would love to understand like how you went around like translating and repurposing.
Yeah. So first thing is I started blogging okay, the summary of the content, and for which I started doing it myself. And at one point in time, I thought it is too much on me, because even today, I'm one man army. Like earlier, I had a partner, but he used to join only for the recordings. Like I did the lion's share of work, and over a period of time, he got his own priorities, and because of which we have to part ways. And when we were together, we hired a few interns who repurposed the content in terms of listening to it and writing the summary, and we captured it somewhere. And after publishing a few blogs, I felt okay, maybe the originality is missing, right? That is where I thought, okay, let me do my own blog by myself. Right now, it is available on LinkedIn as Think Hatke with TGV. Means Hatke is Hindi word, so Hatke means different. Think different with TGV. That's the meaning of that. And one
There's
fine day,
alignment.
yeah, exactly. And one fine day, I received a signed copy of Master Mentors book by Scott Miller, who happens to be the CMO of Franklin Covey Foundation. And I was literally on cloud nine. I don't know how he said got to know my address, and he sent a signed copy. And after reading that book, I got truly inspired. Okay, I think he also runs a podcast on leadership, if I remember the podcast name correctly. But it's a subscription based podcast. It is not available for free. And that Master Mentors, I read it within just 2 days, and that actually sparked the trigger in my mind, saying that yeah, I think it's time for repurposing TGV's content, and let me also launch a book. And for which I roped in one of my friends whom I hosted on the podcast. She's a seasoned author, so that first time I thought I would partner with somebody who knows everything, and that's how we released volume one. And based on all the mistakes that I've learned while writing volume one, I've changed the authors right now, and there is someone else who is partnering with me on volume two. And this time we selected again, our thought process is different in terms of shortlisting the speakers, and we wanted to cover global speakers as well, because in the first volume it was all speakers from India only whom we featured, but this time we have our selection criteria is different. And coming to volume three, that has come out of a strategic collaboration with one of the forums which is helping women to succeed. And the name of the forum is Corporate Diva, and which is led by Deepika Trehan, founder of Corporate Diva. And she approached me based on her friend's advice, saying that, hey, why don't you feature all the tribe members part of Corporate Diva who are getting groomed by that company on my podcast. Then this year, March 2023, I dedicated all the 9 episodes to Corporate Diva women. And instead of just celebrating Women's Day on March 8th, we celebrated the entire March month as Women's Day. And then she proposed, yeah, why don't we feature more women, and let us launch volume 3. Then I said, I'm absolutely fine, because I have already generated the content. It's just that I need to refine it and make it and repurpose it so that it fits the purpose in terms of creating a book.
Well, there's a number of great things in here. I mean, I appreciate this, like, because like I have gone through a process of writing a book and also like repurposing different things, and it's like it sounds simple, but it's involved, you know.
Yeah.
And I even got to the point where getting the book completely done, 200 pages, and then looking at it and saying, I don't think it's there yet, and I haven't released it at the time of this recording. Like that might change, but there's a part of me that's like that looks at it and says, "Ooh, what I want to do? What do I want to do with this?" And so like as you're saying it, like there's a level of, I don't want to say, I kind of just want to say like it just feels like it's natural. Like you're like, yep, so this happened. We said, okay, I'm here. I wasn't really looking at the book. The book got delivered to me. Someone just sent it to me, like it's signed. I read it. It was awesome. I'm like, let's go do the same thing. Let's go do this ourselves, you know, so on and so forth. And I think like as I'm hearing you say this, there's various components that show up for me, right? And one of them is that like I see like the speed to action part, right? It's like, yeah, hey, like I got a book in, you read it in 2 days, and you're like, hey, let's go do this ourselves. We've already done we've done the source content. Let's figure out where it is. 1, 2, like leveraging like your network. So like you've had 362 of these podcasts, you've done all these interviews, like you're like, oh, I have someone in my world who is already a published author, season author. Like I know, like let's leverage that to go and be able to bring something out, right? Three, and this is something that I'm thinking about right now. It's like, because you got that book completed and out into the world, you got a chance to now start doing volumes 2 and 3, right? So like, and this is also me just kind of like also in like self-reflection, where it's like, you're not trying to make volume 1 better. Volume 1 is volume 1. You've learned from volume 1. You have the like, and you're like, okay, like now for volumes 2 and 3, for volume 2, this is what we're going to do worldwide. We're going to go here. We're going to partner with this person to help me get it out. You've learned those lessons. And then someone comes along with a great cause that you're passionate about, that you're like, yes, like I'm in, let's go make this come to life. And you're able to essentially just plug them into the system that you have. So it's like, not only do you get to be on a podcast, but I get to dedicate an entire month to you. And on top of dedicating an entire month to you, I get to dedicate an entire book to you all, because of like, and that's, and all you're doing is just what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. And just to add to that point, just last week, I launched another series called TGV Slice of Hope.
Yep.
This is in collaboration with another HopeWorks Foundation, which is empowering 1 million young girls march to college. And one of my friends approached saying that, what can we do for this? I said, I don't mind launching a new series just dedicated to them. And normally I launch my podcast episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But for them, I've recorded 10 different people, 9 different guests within span of 3 days. And from starting last Saturday, every Saturday for the next 8 Saturdays, you're going to have one episode out of Slice of Hope series. And that is something which I thought, okay, let me do it, because I'm not in a position to contribute to their cause financially, but I can use my medium. And after launching that series, I got an immense sense of satisfaction, because the purpose for which they are working on is really beautiful, because they are picking up people from low income groups, humble backgrounds, and they're trying to support their education. And I happened to talk to the founder. I happened to talk to one of the mentors, who is a film director, renowned personality. And I didn't even imagine that I would talk to her. And it happened because I signed up. And I spoke to girls who are the beneficiaries of that program. I spoke to 2 mothers of the beneficiaries as well. And one of them I did in my Telugu language. And they will never imagine that they would get showcased on my show.
Like this is I love being able to put this in here. We're going to start wrapping up for today, but there's something in here around, like, you started something, 3 years ago, you started something. And, a lot of times I'll talk to world shapers and outliers that are like, hey, like, is it this group or is it that group, or am I supposed to help this? And am I making my impact, and so on and so forth? And it's like, you're doing something right now that is actually, the work that you're doing is adjacent to, but it's not directly related to the last 2 groups that you brought up,
Yeah.
However, because you're like, I'm going down this path, and I'm working here to shape the careers of millions of people across the globe, right? It then gave other people an opportunity to come in and plug in. And even though that may not be where your focus is 100% of the time, you're like, I can take 3 days, interview 9 people, and give you an extra day of the week. It's not like I could do that, and now you're able to continue to have, and that's going to live on. That's going to keep going out. That's going to keep being useful. That's going to keep being something that other people can plug back into. You've given people a moment, an opportunity to speak in their native language, of like in on a podcast that they would have never even thought they would ever be on a podcast. And that's shaping someone's like whole life right there, like just opening up whole doors. So I like, as we wrap up here, I just want to I want to acknowledge you in this year, just kind of call out like how just choosing to go down a path at all, and just continuously being there and building out the systems behind it, like actually free you up to take on and support in ways that you would not have anticipated doing beforehand. And I really want to acknowledge you for that here, and for like, I felt my heart opening up as we've been talking in this last bit here around from the book onwards. Like, I just really felt like, I'm like, oh, like Naveen's really up to things in the world, and like I can see how like being able to be on your podcast, like it's not even just a small deal. Like it's like if you get on this podcast, if you're talking on this podcast, you also have an opportunity to be featured in the book, like so there's many like multiple benefits that go on there, provided that the conversation meets the criteria of whatever the volume is, but it's like you've created different things that allow you to have a very meaningful exchange for someone that comes onto your podcast, to be able to get that, to maximize that, and then also make sure that however someone out there is looking for their lives to transform, whether it's through the audio or through a more written version of it all, like it gets done. And who knows, like maybe you'll get illustrations in the next one and you're like, look, we are going to have a compass part of it too, so you could see the visual parts of it. So we are like, just thank you is what I want to say. Thank you. What I want to do is do two things. I want to end with the two questions I ask everyone. And the first question is for anyone that wants you to be their guiding voice, or wants to like continue down the path, or says, hey, I also believe in your message of your mission of shaping the careers. Like, I would love to come and join you on your podcast and do things with you. What's the best way for people to continue down the journey with you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me through LinkedIn by searching for my full name, Naveen Samala. And my tagline is IT leader driving business transformation. Or else they can visit my personal website, which is www.naveensamala.com, and my podcast website as well, www.theguidingvoice.net. Or else they can email me at theguidingvoice, digit 4, letter U, @gmail.com.
Awesome. Well,
or they can follow me on Twitter by my full name, Naveen Samala.
So like, short story here is like, look him up. He's available, and if you want to reach out to him directly, there's also paths there too, right? Yeah. But just we'll look it up. Awesome. So I've been finding that. I'm like, yeah. Now I'm with people who are playing on every platform. So yeah. Like, go download the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts at. So let's end with this. I like to end with what I call the time capsule question. And the way the time capsule question, this is a question for you, for yourself, right? And what I'd like to do is just give you an opportunity. You've learned everything you've learned up until this point, right? In the future, there's going to be a Naveen that might be going up against something that needs to remember something that you already know right now. What's the message that you want to leave for yourself, for the future Naveen to come back to you, that will help you out in that situation?
My message is very simple. True dreams will never let you sleep. And I want to make sure that I am at least 10 to 100 times better than what I was the last time when I come here.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Naveen. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for shaping your world, and for choosing and committing to making a world of difference. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure to be here, and thanks for inviting. You made me think a lot, and all the conversation is real authentic. I loved the way you have curated this, and there is a lot to learn from you, Niiamah.
Appreciate that. Be well.